Hello everybody, and welcome to Greg's Vintage Workshop, where I'm working to restore history one piece at a time. As you guys know, I'm currently working on a late 1940s SpeedQueen washing machine, which is unique to my channel. I've never done one before, and so I'm learning as I go. In part one, I basically got the wringer attachment out, which was not that big of a deal. It lifted right out, and I managed to get the drum out and the agitator out and the motor and transmission out, and that's kind of where I left it. I did a smidge of cleaning just to see how I was going to clean up, but I got it that far, and so in part two we're going to finish the cleaning up a little bit on the outside, which is very short, and then we're going to work on the transmission, get it disassembled, see what all it needs, clean it up, get some new oil in it, and replace anything that needs to be replaced. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we're starting the cosmetic restoration on this old 1940s SpeedQueen washer, and I don't know if you guys remember what it was in the beginning, but this was the very worst side of this thing. This entire side was coated in dark grease that had run down it, and that was pretty nasty as well. And I've been using some fast orange hand cleaner on paper towels, and it's turning out really nice. So it's not taking much scrubbing at all. I'm gonna do this other next side, and so you guys can see what I'm doing, and then I'll run it super fast motion so that hopefully you guys can see, but you don't have to be bored and watch the whole thing. Once I do that side, there's the hand cleaner on the towel. Once I do this side, then I'll do the rest off camera. But it does a really nice job on this old paint. Now I'm planning on taking this down in the workshop and taking a buffer to it, buffing it out with some wax on it to make it even better. It has got some damage on it. We're not trying to make things perfect. Some scratches right there, but those might clean up a little bit with the buffer. That was pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll continue on with the other two sides that are left, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, got the initial clean done. I cleaned it both inside and outside. See if I can kind of give you a spin without getting out of the picture of all the sides. For an initial cleanup, I think that it turned out pretty freaking awesome. Looks really good. I got a little bit of touch up to do down inside the bottom of the legs, but I want to flip it upside down before I do that. And where the actual motor sat, I've got some rust in there that I'm going to have to clean up. Let me take you off the tripod and I'll show you that. Okay, so as you can see, I got the inside all cleaned out pretty good. A little bit of rust right around the edge is just surface deep right there. I'll probably put some rust converter on it. And then right here, I'm probably blocking the light, but this mount here's got quite a bit of rust. The rubbers are all really nice, and each of these other mounts looks fine. They're a little dirty. I'm going to wait till I get it in my workshop and use some method spray cleaner on those. But the rest of it turned out pretty freaking awesome as far as I'm concerned. So that's the first piece can go down in the workshop. The next thing I'm going to do is focus my attention over here on the tub, which is pretty screwed up and cruddy too. And I also screwed up the paint here and here on it. So I'm going to have to get some epoxy paint and reshoot that, some porcelain epoxy paint. And when I do that, I will shoot the top as well, which, as we look over here, it's pretty bad inside and out, and it needs to be repainted, sanded and repainted. So I'll just shoot that with the same paint and probably the actual ringer assembly as well. So I can gradually take these parts downstairs and start working them on the workshop. I'm sure the transmission is full of super hard grease. We will leave this one here for now and come back when I start doing something else. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got the transmission on my workbench downstairs, and I'm going to clean it up, but I'm not going to do that on camera. I'll bring you back when I get it cleaned up, and then we'll flip it over and pull it apart. So when next you see it, it should be clean. I got it cleaned up pretty nice. When I get this taken apart and replace any seals or gaskets or find nothing broken, I'm going to repaint this. I'll have to clean the rust off and treat the rust, but then I'm going to repaint this. Couldn't get the pulley off. I'm not super concerned about that at this point because I think it's just going to come out with this top portion of the case. The other screws, the other bolts came out from the other side when I took it out of the unit, so really it's the only thing left holding it in right now, I believe, is this bolt and that nut. So let's go ahead and take that off. I don't know if it's pushing in there or it screws in there. I think it must push in there. Okay, so I should be able to just let that, well, maybe it does screw out. Got a lock washer. I don't know what this uses, if it was a grease that they were greased with back in the day and it has gotten probably thick, or if it was like 90 weight. I'm wondering, it could be 140 weight, maybe. I don't know. We're going to lift it off of here, attempt to lift it off of here and see what we get. I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a hell of a mess. I do know that. 9 chances out of 10. And I say that because I see some has bushed out around that. So if there's a seal there, it's gone bad. If it's grease, it's gone liquefied. I don't know. Let's see if this will come up. Feels like something else is holding it. If I missed anything there, it's just I think it's just the gasket. It's got a cork gasket that I'll probably have to either remake or just use silicone, because they didn't have silicone back in the day. It's holding it, but it might just be the gasket or it could be the gears. No, I think it's kind of gear holding it, or it could be something else holding it. It's like something around that pulley there is holding it up. Something should be coming out, and it ain't coming out. There, I think it's going to come out. I just need something a little bit stiffer, like a screwdriver. Going so far and then it's stopping. I am not sure. I want to kind of see what I got when it comes apart, because if I got to put it back together, which I obviously do, I need to make sure I get it together right. Let me get some stuff propped underneath there. I'll get it come up, I'll bring you back. I got it. It was just stuck. This gear for the pulley was stuck. So I got it up. I can see it's liquidy in there. So I assume it must have been some sort of oil, but it's a mess. Let me see if I can get some paper towels to kind of catch any oil that decides to fall off anything. Definitely a goopy mess, as can be seen there. Ancient, at least 75-year-old oil, grease, whatever it is. Might have been grease at one point, might just be oil, I'm not sure. But let me set this down out of the way. It doesn't smell like 80-90. It could be 140 because it's pretty thick, or it's just grease that has gotten thick with age. I'm not sure. But what I do know is I need to somehow get this out of here. And unfortunately I don't have a parts washer, and I gotta be careful because some of these gears could fall out. Let me see what I can do. Let me figure out how I'm going to get this thing drained. I'm going to have to take it outside obviously and do it into some sort of a drain pan. And I'll clean it up and we'll take a look and I'll bring it back so you guys can see. Okay guys, I got it all cleaned up. I took it out to the garage and had a bucket of lacquer thinner and drained as much of it out that I could, and then took a brush and started hitting it with the lacquer thinner. When I got it thinned out enough that I could see it, I pulled each gear out and cleaned each one individually, cleaned the housing completely, both sides, inside and out. Actually all of the thrust washers look great. There's one there, there's one there, there's one under this gear, and it looks like it's in really good condition. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm either going to order some cork and make a cork gasket for it, or I'm just going to use gray silicone. I think gray silicone would work just fine. My only concern is I don't know if there's any clearance issues that can be too tight. I'll have to take some measurements. I think it'll be fine. I've got a seal here. There's two felt seals. This one came apart in two pieces. I think I gotta reshape it because you can see that lip's kind of raised up on that, if you can see that. On this side it's not. But I think I gotta reshape that. I think the felt will be fine once I reshape the metal. There's one here I haven't bothered to take off yet. And then I've got the one I just showed you that goes on that one. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my red synthetic grease, grease all the bushings, grease the gears, everything really good, and then I'm going to put 140 in it, up to just over the top of the gears, and I think we'll call that good. Everything else cleaned up good. There's the other side of it. Alright, that's it for now. I'll bring you back in a little bit. Okay guys, I got this bracket all cleaned up, even though I couldn't get the pulley off the other side. That's this one. I got the oil feed hole all cleaned out nice. I got the thrust washer all cleaned out nice. And as you can see now, it spins very nicely. Quiet as a mouse and smooth as can be. So that's ready to go. I'm going to put a little of this multiplex synthetic grease between the both sides of the thrust washer and on the shaft a little bit here, and that piece will be ready to reinstall on the transmission. Okay guys, as you can see, I've got this transmission case all cleaned up really nice, and it's ready to reassemble. So we'll just kind of quick do this together. I've got a couple of thrust washers right here. One goes there, one goes there. We're just going to put grease on the top because it sits on the bottom. There's no reason to have anything on that part right there because the thrust washer don't spin. It's the other part that spins on top of it. So we will just set those there. Then I have another thrust washer for this drive gear here, and as I put these in, I'll explain to you what each of them are to the best of my ability. So first thing we're going to do is just throw a little grease on these. Now the grease really probably is not necessary because this whole cavity is going to get 140 in it, but it's just my way of making sure that there is initial lubrication going on in there. You could probably skip this step if you wanted to, but I just think it's a good thing to do. So that's why I'll do it. By the same token, I'm also going to put a little on the shaft, which may or may not be detrimental to it. I think it'll be alright. There's grooves cut in there so that the oiling can get in there. I think that I think it'll still get in there even with this grease on here. And I'm not putting it on like super thick. I could use the oil and do this as well, but I'm not too anxious to get that smell of that oil down here in my workshop, because any of you that have smelled 80, 90 or 90, 85, 140, no, it's not the nicest smell in the world. Now the other one I've got here, the big gear, doesn't have any thrust washers. It just rides on top of the chassis right here. So we're going to put a little grease there, and we're going to put a little on the gear as well, so we don't have metal to metal contact. I'll put a little bit in this hole here, in this bushing. Not a bunch, just a little bit, so when the shaft pushes in there, it'll have some on there. Again, this is just enough in here on these to get a little initial lubrication on there. And so the first gear I think I'm going to install is going to be this gear, which is actually the gear that drives the wringer. When this is spinning fast enough to drive the wringer. There's a coupling that connects the two together. So we'll go ahead and stick this one on here. It just goes in there like that. Okay. Next one will be the big gear, which is basically driving the agitator. It drives off of the small gear from the pulley, comes in here and spins this one, which spins this one, which spins this one. It's that simple. I put a little grease on the bottom of this gear, because I can't spin this one and show you. Well, I could if I took the other one out first, but I guess we could do that. Pull that one back out. Thrust washer stuck because of the grease. Put that one on here, like that. I can't just spin it, it's got more drag. I mean, I could, but it's not going to free wheel spin. There's no timing marks on these. Put the thrust washer back on there. There we go. So that now leaves the agitator actuator, which is this assembly here. You'll just go down on top of that. We've already got grease on that, so that should be fine. Put a little bit on this one. This work goes into that gear to drive it. Sorry if I'm not holding this where you can see it. I'm going to stick a little bit in here, and then we'll have to do a coordinated effort to try and get this down on top of here. It all has to slide together pretty much the exact same time. Okay, we got that one started. Means I gotta spin this around here to get this engaged. Like that. And that's all there is to it. So the main shaft, the one that's in the other housing, will come down through a little spinny gear, a little pinion gear, go in here and engage with this one, and that's driven by the electric motor, which is spinning this one, which works the actuator, the agitator, not the actuator. If I can get this whole thing to spin or not. Yeah, there we go, like that. Give you an idea of what it's doing in there. And that's pretty much it. So now what I got to do is rework the seals, because these are felt seals, like a 3-piece seal. This is the one for the agitator. It's actually distorted. If you look from that angle, I don't know if you guys can see that, it's distorted up. I'm going to have to get that smashed back down so it's more like that. And there's the bottom, which is also cupped, and then it's got a felt seal inside like that. Now I'm hoping I can rejuvenate these felt seals a little bit, because obviously this isn't something I'm going to pick up anywhere that I'm aware of, but I'm going to try and work them around in my fingers with some like oil and stuff, kind of fluff them up and then stick them back in there, and that goes down over that. And then I got the bigger one, which is for the agitator drive there, which is this one. This one doesn't look too badly distorted. A little bit of distortion right there. And there's the bottom of it. And that one. Now that one's a little harder than the other one. This one might need to be soaked for a while to try and soften it up some. So I'll probably put it in a container of WD-40 or something like that to see if we can get it to soften up over time. Maybe a little alcohol, not sure. But that's that, and then that will go over there like that. And then I'll put the oil in it first because it don't have a fill. I don't know how much it takes, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it just to the top of the gear, the lowest gear. We're going to take it to the top of that, maybe go over it slightly, but it's going to be just at the top of that gear. I bought 2 quarts. I don't think it's going to take them both, probably just take one of them, but that should be sufficient then. So I'll bring it back when I'm ready to do that. Okay, so I soaked those felts for about 2 days in alcohol, and now they're nice and soft and pliable, and I've fattened them back up, so I think that they're going to be fine. So put the bottom on this one, put the felt on this one. I got the top straightened a little bit. This one wasn't bad, so that can go on there. There's the other one. Get it on there without it twisting. It's good it's nice and snug, but I don't want it twisted. There we go. I think, here we go. Alright, I did get the top flattened out. I sanded it top and bottom so that it should be smooth and not catch. Get that compressed down, and I think we'll be okay. So I'm getting ready to put this 85-140 in here, but if you see this little hole right here, this is where the drive gear goes, and if I just go ahead and fill this, which is what I have to do because there's not a fill port in it, before I put the cover on, I'm going to have a problem inserting that gear because that's going to fill up with fluid, and then I'll have a hydrolock that won't allow me to push the gear down inside there. So what I'm getting ready to do is apply the silicone around the perimeter. And once I get that on there, then I'm going to go ahead and set that gear partially in place, and hopefully have enough room I can still get my nozzle in here and fill this up with the gear in place while supporting the rest of the framework there. So I'm going to get that set up and get you guys at an angle where you can hopefully see what I'm doing. Okay, I just got through applying all my silicone on there, so now we're going to see if we can start it on here. Yeah, now we're going to have to do something different here. Yeah, I don't know about the hydrolock thing, but I don't see a good way of sitting that down in there, so I guess I'm just going to have to go for it and see what we get. I hate the smell of hair oil. I personally think that looks like that's enough. We're even with the top of the gears, and I think that's as much as we need to have. so that's where we're going to leave it. Now, we're going to see if we can set this thing on there without disrupting, specifically the shim spacer. Doesn't seem like it's going down. For some reason. Could be the hydro lock situation because it is going down slightly. Let's get some stuff started here. Help things along. Going slowly, I think. Okay, so it definitely is a hydrolock situation. I've been mushing on it. I got bolts just in there as alignment all the way around, and it's gradually going down, as you can see. So it's just going to take a little more persuasion. But you can see I'm twisting, the gears are engaged. Okay, I had to take the rubber mallet and give it a couple punches to get a little bit of air in there. Let that happen, and I got everything started. Now tighten my hardware down, hopefully get my silicone to seal properly. Some of these have, like this one and this one, these will have some of the mounts on there, but I wanted to be able to get the silicone set. So that's why I got the big washers on there. That should do it. I just noticed something which is interesting. I may have to investigate further. I see we've got some gear oil now that has leaked out. So hopefully that did not crack from the hydrolock or push a Welch plug out, which is more likely what it may have happened. But obviously I'm going to have to flip that up and take a look. Yes, indeed, it is a little Welch plug right there. And it's crooked because it has knocked it out right here. So I need to get that pushed back in, and then I'll seal it with some silicone. And that's what happens when you have a hydrolock, which is why I didn't want to put the oil in there first, but I had to do what I had to do. So I'll get that straightened out and we'll be back. Okay, crisis averted. As you can see, I got it knocked back down in there. I used a little brass drift and my little brass hammer, and we got it back where it needed to be, and they're nice and tight. And then I just sealed it over with a skim of silicone, and it should be good. I will flip it back over, and then we can look at painting it. Alright guys, so here is the transmission completed, with the exception of the pulley here being repainted. I want to paint it because it did have some rust on it. I got the rust all off of it. What I'm getting ready to paint it with is this Rust-Oleum metallic satin nickel. I think it looks probably the closest to what it's going to be, and I think that'll make that good. I didn't paint this particular spline shaft because this is actually the coupler that basically disengages the plunger, which is, this is the shaft, by the way. You can see I got that all cleaned up, all nice and ready to go. And it goes down in here, and then that yoke basically comes in here and lifts this up to disengage the agitator. Now, I originally was planning on showing you guys it completed, with everything painted. However, we had a little unfortunate accident, which I will show you my bandaged hand right at the moment, which was worse than it actually looks right now. It's been almost a week since the accident occurred, but I wound up with 6 stitches in this finger. It was a crushing type injury, and what happened was I was going up my basement stairs up into the kitchen to take this outside to paint the pulley. And unbeknownst to me, my daughter's 90-pound dog was laying in my path, and the way I had to carry this thing out in front of myself with my hands underneath it like this, it was basically blind, and needless to say, I fell over the dog, and it was a hard fall directly onto both knees, both elbows, and ultimately I saved the transmission because I had my hands like this, but the weight of the transmission and the fall basically came down and crushed on this hand. I'm still getting my strength back in my thumb and forefinger here because all that got bruised. Still got like a blood blister right there. That was smashed. The joint smashed. They x-rayed it. It's not broken, but it's going to take a while before I can be back to normal. This hand also got smashed, and this joint right here is all bruised and very sore. But it could have been much worse. The way my knees hit and my elbows hit, I thought I broke my right elbow, and my left knee was pretty bruised up too. They took x-rays of the hand, the elbow, the knee, and they ran a CAT scan of my head and neck because I hit my nose and cut my nose on the pulley and cut my neck on this section here, and I didn't lose consciousness, but I was so dizzy that had my son-in-law and daughter not been here, my wife would have had to call an ambulance because I couldn't stand up or nothing. But anyway, I survived, and it's better than that. The transmission survived with 0 damage on it. Didn't even nick the paint that I'd done the day before. Anyway, I lived to work again, and so that'll conclude the transmission. In the next one, I'll probably go ahead and show you it with this painted, because that'll be done at that point. But I think we'll probably tackle the motor in the next part because it's locked up right now, and we'll get that apart and cleaned up and running, and we'll go from there. So we're going to end this one here. So for Greg's Vintage Workshop and for this 1940s SpeedQueen wringer washing machine, thanks for watching.